Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're diving into a sweet, heartwarming market trip, but with one unsettling question. Who was quietly watching Jack and Tu Tien in the crowd, and why does it feel like the past is coming back? If you enjoy the story, don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss the next episodes. The morning starts the way Tet mornings always do in the countryside, quiet, cold, and full of little sounds you only notice when you're actually home. A rooster calls from somewhere behind the neighbor's bamboo fence. A motorbike passes on the main road, the engine humming low like it doesn't want to wake anyone up. Inside the kitchen, the stove crackles, and the smell of warm banana and sweet potato slowly climbs into the air. Tu Tien stands at the counter, with her sleeves rolled up, hair tied back, moving with that calm rhythm she's found again lately. Not rushed, not shaky, just steady. On the table are two bowls, one full of mashed sweet potato, the other holding ripe bananas she's pressed with the back of a spoon until they turn smooth and golden. A jar of sesame, a small sack of flour, a tiny pinch of salt like her grandmother taught her. She adds the ingredients like she's telling a story, one step, one breath, one quiet smile. Jack comes in without making a big entrance. He's wearing an old jacket, the kind he doesn't mind smelling like smoke and oil by the end of the day. He leans his shoulder against the doorframe and watches her for a moment. "You didn't wake me," he says. Tu Tien glances up. "You were sleeping like you worked 3 days in one." "I did work 3 days in one," Jack replies, rubbing his eyes. "I think my body finally accepted it." Tu Tien laughs softly, then looks back down at the batter. She shapes a small cake in her palm, smooths the edges, and dips it into sesame until the seeds stick like tiny black stars. Jack steps closer. "So, market day?" Tu Tien nods. "Market day." Jack watches her hands. "How many are we bringing?" Tu Tien points at the trays. "Enough." Jack counts with his eyes and immediately loses the number. "That's not a number." Tu Tien smiles wider. "It's a feeling." Jack raises his eyebrows like he's impressed and confused at the same time. "A dangerous feeling." She nudges him gently with her elbow. "Wash your hands. You're helping." Jack looks down at his hands like they're guilty of something. "I'm clean." "Wash," Tu Tien repeats. And there's no argument in her voice, just that calm confidence that makes Jack obey faster than any shouting ever could. A few minutes later, Jack is standing beside her, sleeves up, trying to copy her movements. He grabs a lump of batter, rolls it, and it comes out slightly uneven, like a potato that survived a storm. Tu Tien pauses, looks at it, then looks at him. "You made a rock." Jack holds it up proudly. "A strong cake." Tu Tien tries to stay serious and fails. She laughs, and the laugh surprises even her because it's not forced, not careful. It's real. It fills the kitchen for a second like warm light. Jack freezes like he doesn't want to break the moment. Then he smiles too. "I like that sound," he says quietly. Tu Tien looks down, still smiling. "Then make more rocks. Maybe I'll laugh more." They work like that for a while. Tu Tien reshapes Jack's strong cakes when he's not looking. Jack pretends not to notice. The stove keeps crackling. The cakes fry and turn golden at the edges, the smell getting richer with every batch. When they're done, they pack everything into baskets lined with banana leaves so the cakes stay warm and don't get soggy. By the time the sun finally climbs higher, the yard is brighter, and their breath is no longer visible in the air. Jack loads the baskets into the car, making sure they don't slide. Tu Tien checks the cloth, the change money, the extra plastic bags, and a small thermos of hot tea. Jack pats the baskets like they're precious cargo. "These are more important than my contracts." Tu Tien gives him a look. "Don't say that too loud. The universe might hear you." Jack grins. "Let it hear. Today, I'm just your assistant." They drive toward the market with the windows slightly cracked, the air crisp and fresh. Along the road, red banners hang in front of houses. and some yards already have small kumquat trees with tiny ornaments tied to the branches. People are moving more than usual, carrying flowers, carrying groceries, carrying the busy energy that always comes before Tet. When they arrive, the market is already awake, not loud like a city, but alive in that village way. Voices calling, baskets clinking, plastic chairs scraping, meat sizzling somewhere, and the constant rustle of people walking past each other like a flowing river. Tu Tien finds a spot near the edge where there's enough space to set up without blocking anyone. Jack lays down a mat, sets up the baskets, and looks around like he's trying to memorize every sound. "This is a different kind of job," he says. Tu Tien starts arranging the cakes neatly. "It's harder." Jack laughs. "I believe you." The first customers walk by slowly, looking, deciding. Tu Tien smiles politely, not pushing, just letting people come to her. When someone stops, she explains what the cakes are. Banana and sweet potato. Homemade, warm, simple. The kind of snack that tastes like childhood. Jack stands beside her, ready to help, but he doesn't know what help looks like yet. He tries anyway. A middle-aged auntie points at the cakes. "How much?" Tu Tien answers calmly. The auntie squints. "Too expensive." Jack leans forward, eager. "Auntie, it's not expensive. This is quality." Tu Tien's head snaps toward him, a warning hidden in her eyes. The auntie turns to Jack like she's been waiting for him. "Oh? Quality? Then you pay for it." Jack freezes. Tu Tien coughs into her hand like she's hiding a laugh. "Auntie, he's just new." The auntie looks Jack up and down. "New husband?" Jack straightens like, "That's an official title." "Yes." The auntie waves her hand. "Then you should be quiet. Let your wife talk. If you talk too much, you make the price go up." The other women nearby laugh. Jack's ears turn red. Tu Tien tries to stay composed but fails again. She turns slightly away, shoulders shaking with laughter, and Jack can't help laughing too, even though he's the target. "Okay," Jack says, raising both hands. "I'm quiet. I'm silent." "Good," the auntie says, satisfied. "Now lower the price a little." Tu Tien negotiates smoothly, as if she's done this her whole life. The auntie buys a bag. Then another person stops. Then another. Slowly, the morning rhythm builds. Jack finds his role, bagging cakes quickly, handing out change, wiping the tray clean, and calling out politely when someone looks interested. "Warm cakes here," he says, voice friendly, not loud. "Banana and sweet potato. Homemade." Tu Tien looks at him amused. "You sound like you were born in the market," Jack whispers back. "I'm learning." Another auntie comes, picks up a cake with her fingers, then puts it back like she's judging the world. "This one is too small," she says. Jack, forgetting his lesson, blurts out, "That one is normal." The auntie turns slowly. "Normal for who?" Jack's mouth opens, then closes. He looks at Tu Tien for help like a child caught stealing candy. Tu Tien steps in smoothly. "Auntie, if you want bigger, I'll give you two for the same bag. You can eat one now and save one for later." The auntie pauses, then nods like she's impressed. "That's smart." Jack exhales like he survived a storm. Tu Tien leans close and whispers, "No more words." Jack whispers back, "I understand. I was almost buried alive." Tu Tien laughs again, bright, effortless. And for a moment she looks younger, lighter, like the heavy chapters of the past are far away. Jack watches her face, and something soft settles inside him. Relief, gratitude, and a quiet fear of losing this calm. They sell steadily until midday. The baskets are half empty, then lighter, then nearly gone. Tu Tien takes a sip of tea and wipes her hands. Jack stretches his back and looks around, feeling oddly proud. "We're doing it," he says. Tu Tien nods. "We are." That's when Jack notices it. Not the cakes, not the customers, not the noise, but a stillness in the crowd. A pause that doesn't match the rhythm of the market. Across the walkway, between two stools, someone stands just long enough for Jack to catch the shape of a familiar face. Not close, not doing anything obvious, just watching. Jack's smile fades slightly. The person turns, blending into the crowd again, like they were never there. Tu Tien doesn't notice. She's counting change, focused, calm. But Jack's eyes stay fixed on that spot. His heart beats suddenly louder than the market, and he doesn't say a word, not yet. Jack forces his face back into a normal expression before Tu Tien can look up and catch the change in him. He tells himself it could have been anyone. Markets are full of faces, full of strangers, full of people who stop, stare, and move on. But the problem is, that face didn't feel like a stranger. Tu Tien finishes counting the bills and ties them neatly in a small rubber band. "We should eat something before we go home," she says. "You're going to collapse." Jack nods too quickly. "Yeah, good idea." He reaches for the empty basket, keeping his body angled so he can still scan the walkway without making it obvious. The crowd flows past them in waves, women with flower bundles, men carrying sacks of rice, kids dragging their sandals and begging for snacks. Tu Tien stands and stretches her arms over her head. A simple movement, but it makes Jack's chest loosen a little. She looks alive. She looks steady. She looks like the version of her that came back after all the bad days. Jack clears his throat. "You want soup or noodles?" Tu Tien thinks for a second. "Something warm and something spicy." Jack smiles. "Spicy, the brave choice." Tu Tien narrows her eyes. "Don't underestimate me." They pack up the last few bags of cakes and walk to a small food stall near the edge of the market. The woman running it recognizes Jack immediately. "Oh, the husband is back," she teases, handing them 2 steaming bowls. "Today you were quiet, or you were talking." Jack sits down slowly, like he's entering a courtroom. "I was learning." The woman laughs. "Good. The market will train you." Tu Tien laughs too, and Jack realizes the sound still hits him the same way, like a hand pressing lightly against his heart. They eat in comfortable silence for a minute. The broth is hot enough to make Tu Tien's cheeks pink. The spice makes Jack's nose run, and he wipes it quickly, embarrassed. Tu Tien catches him and grins. "You're crying because the noodles are emotional." Jack points his chopsticks at her. "Don't spread rumors." "Too late," Tu Tien says, leaning closer. "I'm going to tell the aunties you cried for love." Jack shakes his head, but he's smiling again. And for a moment, the market noise becomes background music to something simpler. 2 people sharing lunch after working together, like nothing in the world can chase them. When they finish, Tu Tien wipes the table politely, thanks the stall owner, and lifts the remaining basket. Jack stands, then pauses because the same feeling returns. That subtle pressure behind his ribs, as if someone is watching from a place he can't see. He turns his head slowly. Across the street, beyond the market gate, he sees movement. Someone stepping behind a motorbike, half hidden. The person isn't staring openly now. It's more careful, more quick. Like they noticed, Jack noticed. Jack's fingers tighten around the basket handle. Tu Tien follows his gaze. "What is it?" Jack forces a casual tone. "Nothing. Just thought I saw someone I knew." Tu Tien doesn't push. She simply nods. "Maybe it was someone from your work." Jack wants to say, maybe. He wants to agree and let it go. But in his mind, the old chapters flicker. The kind of fear that doesn't come from today, it comes from memory. He exhales quietly. "Let's go home." They walk back to the car. Tu Tien talks about what she wants to bake next time, maybe add coconut, maybe try a small batch with peanuts for the older men who like stronger flavors. Jack replies, nodding, pretending his attention isn't split. He opens the passenger door for her like he always does, then loads the basket in the back. As he closes the trunk, he glances one more time toward the market gate. No one, just people moving, laughing and bargaining like life is simple. Jack climbs into the driver's seat, starts the engine, and drives them home. The road back feels longer than it should. The countryside rolls by banana trees, small ponds, narrow paths where kids wave. Tu Tien hums softly under her breath, a half melody that feels like peace. Jack listens to it, letting it calm him when they pull into their yard. The afternoon sun has softened into a golden glow. The house looks warm from the outside, like it's waiting for them. Jack carries the remaining bag of cakes inside, while Tu Tien pours water into the kettle. "We sold almost everything," Tu Tien says proudly. Jack nods. "You did." Tu Tien lifts her chin. "We did." Jack smiles. "Yes, we did." She reaches for the money band and places it in a small tin box on the shelf. She doesn't count it again. It's not about the number. It's about the feeling of earning it with her own hands, and Jack knows that matters to her more than anything. Tu Tien starts cleaning the kitchen, humming again. Jack washes the baskets, scrubbing slowly, watching the water run clear. He tries to tell himself the watchful face was nothing, but then he notices something else small, ordinary, and somehow heavier than it should be. A thin piece of paper tucked under the edge of the front gate, like someone slid it in and left quickly. Jack dries his hands and steps outside. Tu Tien calls from inside. "What are you doing?" Jack answers without turning his head. "Just checking the gate." He walks over and picks up the paper. It's folded once. No name written on the outside. His throat tightens. He tells himself not to panic. It could be a flyer, a bill, a neighbor's note about a meeting. He opens it carefully. Inside is a simple line of handwriting, short and neat. "Tell her the past doesn't stay buried." Jack's pulse jumps. He reads it again, slower this time, as if the words might change into something harmless if he looks hard enough. They don't. Behind him, Tu Tien steps onto the porch. She's holding the kettle lid, eyes curious. "Jack? Who left something?" Jack folds the paper quickly and slips it into his pocket as if it's nothing. He turns, keeping his face calm. "No one," he says. "Probably the wind blew a paper in." Tu Tien squints at him. She's not stupid. She knows his voice when he's lying gently, but she also knows that sometimes Jack carries worry so she doesn't have to. Her expression softens. "Are you okay?" Jack walks to her, reaching up to brush a strand of hair away from her cheek. "I'm okay." Tu Tien searches his eyes. "You're quiet." Jack forces a smile. "The market trained me." Tu Tien laughs just once, and it's enough to loosen the tightness in Jack's chest. For a second he thinks, maybe I can keep this away from her. Maybe I can protect this peace. Tu Tien turns back into the kitchen. "I'll make tea. You look tired." Jack follows her inside, pretending he isn't carrying a stone in his pocket. They sit at the small table in the evening, tea warming their hands. Outside, the sky turns purple. A dog barks far away, then goes quiet. The world feels gentle again. Tu Tien rests her chin on her hand. "Today was good." Jack nods slowly. "Yeah, it was." Tu Tien smiles, the kind of smile that looks like trust. "We should do it again next week." Jack looks at her, then at the quiet yard beyond the window, then down at his pocket, where the folded paper presses against his leg like a secret. He swallows. "Yeah," he says softly. "We will." Tu Tien reaches across the table and takes his hand. Her fingers are warm, steady. Jack holds on, holding his calm face in place, holding the peace like something fragile. And somewhere in the back of his mind, the words keep echoing quiet, sharp, and unfinished. The past doesn't stay buried. Tu Tien wakes before dawn to bake banana and potato cakes for the Tet market, determined to earn honestly and keep their home steady. Jack insists on coming, balancing baskets on his shoulder and trying to copy the calm rhythm of seasoned vendors. At the stalls, Tu Tien greets familiar aunties, slices, samples, and watches Anna's small hands pass napkins and change. Jack, however, struggles with bargaining. He mishears prices, offers the wrong bills, and gets playfully teased until even Tu Tien laughs like she hasn't in months. The morning feels light, warm, and almost normal. But as the crowd thickens, Tu Tien notices a familiar face, lingering at a distance, eyes fixed on them, never buying, never speaking. Jack follows her gaze, and the laughter fades into a quiet, uneasy silence. Somewhere behind them, the market drums beat on, louder,